There's something weird going on with the Seahawks, and nobody's talking loud enough about it. Ethan Carter here, and listen to me closely. A rookie who barely put on a jersey is already grabbing the head coach's attention. And this isn't just preseason hype. Meanwhile, a promising RB's injury exposes a risk few want to admit. There's some buzz behind the scenes about a veteran who could be the missing piece in the trenches, or just another body. And in the middle of all this, an undrafted guy is scaring the hell out of the vets. Coincidence, or a dark new pattern emerging in Seattle? We're gonna dig into this together. But first, let me ask you something. Look, my fellow Seattle Seahawks fan, before we dive into today's details about our team's latest, I have a quick request for you. If you're watching the Seahawks Insider Report and you like our analysis, but you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. It's crucial for the channel and for our Seahawks fan community to keep growing. Thanks a ton for your support. If you think rookies don't scare anyone in training camp, then you haven't seen Jaylen Milro with your own eyes yet. Man, the kid hasn't even worn full pads properly, and he's already making noise in Mike Macdonald's ear. That's not normal, and it's no wonder he was the fourth QB taken in the draft, but the second on day 2, which already tells you Seattle saw something there that a lot of people missed. Macdonald talked about confidence, quick decision-making, looking in the right place. But it's what he didn't say that hit harder. There's a different energy in the pocket when Milro is back there. His feet talk to the roots. The ball comes out cleaner. His instincts are sharp. And this is all in a training camp without pads yet. But hold up and think with me. If this is happening now, imagine when this kid has the freedom to run. Yeah, because if there's one thing Alabama's numbers scream, it's that Milro is a quarterback with running back legs. He had 1,377 rushing yards and 33 rushing TDs in his career. 20 touchdowns in just his last year alone. And here's the part that gets me really hyped. Even with Darnold as the undisputed starter, they didn't pay him $100 million for nothing. The coaching staff has already let it slip that they want to use Milro in specific packages. Packages. That means the plan is to get this rocket on the field even if he's not QB1 mounds. Remember what the Saints used to do with Taysom Hill in his good days? Something along those lines, but with more explosion and more long-term potential. And look, if you think it's too early for this kind of idea, consider this. With the offensive line trying to gel, with Darnold still learning the playbook, having a guy who can mess up defenses with his legs could be the difference between a 3-and-out and a touchdown. Want an example? Imagine Milro coming in on a 3rd and 2 fake handoff to Charbonnet, keeper to the blind side. Easy 12 yards. That's not a pipe dream. It's a tactical alternative. And you know what else that represents? That the Seahawks are starting to get creative on offense again. Something we haven't seen since the early Russell Wilson years. Oh, and remember this. If Milro keeps up this pace and has good performances in the preseason, Drew Lock might not even see the final roster. The position battle is going to heat up, and the heat's coming from the bottom up. But all this offensive heat doesn't change a worrying fact, and it showed up brutally on the practice field with a dull thud and a player on the ground. And that's where our next nightmare begins. You know that kind of silence you feel more than you hear? That's what happened in training camp when Kenny Macintosh went down. No screams, no theatrics, just that dull sound, that emotional pause that takes over the field when a player can't put his foot down. It was in a special teams drill, one of those plays that looks harmless, and suddenly Macintosh was being carried off by 2 staffers, no weight on his left leg at all. Mike Macdonald's expression wasn't just that of a coach, it was someone who knew he'd lost more than just a rotational piece. Because Macintosh had been fighting for snaps. He really wanted to bite, steal snaps from Charbonnet, make Walker uncomfortable. The truth? He was on the right track, and right now, when Seattle wants to build its offensive identity on the run game, this cold shower hits. Macdonald's philosophy is clear. Run off the rock, man, or run the ball, impose the game, protect the quarterback with the physicality of the trenches. And then, just as the engine starts to hum, a gear locks up. The timing couldn't be worse. Sam Darnold is still absorbing the playbook, and everyone knows a new QB's best friend is a reliable run game. The problem is that reliability is starting to crack now. Walker's back, yeah, at least in theory, because he missed 6 games last year, and even though he looks good, it's a contract year. Is he going to play safe? Will he pace himself? Nobody knows. And Charbonnet, despite being promising, hasn't shown he can handle the full-time RB1 workload. The name that was gaining steam behind the scenes was Macintosh, and now his growth might be permanently stopped. So I ask you, is the coaching staff going to ignore this sign, or are we about to see a market move to bring in a veteran RB, someone experienced to hold the fort if the engine sputters again? I wouldn't be surprised at all to see a name pop up in the next few weeks, especially because the Seahawks have already shown this kind of pragmatism, and Macintosh's injury wasn't just an emotional blow, it was a warning. And you know what's even stranger in all this? While the offense loses pieces, the defense is starting to make a quiet move. A veteran name, well-known, available on the market, and with a history that divides opinions, seems to be on the front office's radar. And if he comes, it could shake up the entire dynamic of the front seven. Ready to face this controversy? Some signings get you hyped, some make you worried, and then there are the ones that make you scratch your head and think, is this really what we're becoming? The name of the moment? Maurice Hurst, a defensive tackle who's had his moments of brilliance, but today carries more question marks than stats. And yet, he's on the Seahawks' radar. At first, it seems like a quiet, almost discreet move, but don't be fooled. This could reveal a lot about how the coaching staff is viewing this defensive line roster. Hurst has 7 NFL seasons under his belt, bounced around with the Raiders, 49ers, and Browns, and he's known as that guy who provides decent snaps as a 3-tech, especially in situational packages. In 2024, he only played 8 games and had 16 tackles, half a sack, and an ankle injury that sidelined him for the end of the season. Nothing spectacular. But then comes the detail that changes everything. He's not coming to be a star. He's coming to complete the puzzle. And that says more about the gaps in our roster than it does about his talent. Seattle's defense wants to pressure, wants to be disruptive again, wants to revive the physical spirit of the old Legion of Boom, but with a different scheme. A more aggressive, rotational front with pressure coming from the interior. And then the question arises, do we have that guy today? Because with all due respect, we're missing someone who can solve first and second down without becoming a sieve. Reed is solid. Murphy, the 2, is growing. Riley Mills shows promise, but the interior is still an experiment. Hurst, in this context, becomes that cheap veteran. They're talking about a $1.8 million contract who can provide balance and teach the younger guys. And let's be honest, the cap allows it. After the offseason cuts, Seattle has room to try out these pieces. What's concerning is the medical history. Hurst is made of tempered glass. He doesn't break easily, but when he does, it's bad. And we've seen this movie before. A player coming in as a rotational solution and becoming a headache even on the sideline. So why consider him? Simple. Because the risk is small and the reward, if it comes, is surgical. A guy with quick reads, decent hand strength, and tactical willingness could be what was missing to free up Murphy and Reed from roles that don't maximize their potential. And here's the key point. If Hurst comes in and fits, he could be the ideal mentor for a certain untamed rookie who's starting to scare the veterans on the line. Some guy named Jared Ivey. Yes, him, undrafted, unheralded, and already with a target on the big guys' backs. The war for roster spots just got real, and this kid is ready to explode, literally. What if I told you the most explosive name on the Seahawks defensive line in this training camp isn't Murphy, isn't Reed, isn't Mills, but an undrafted guy? Jared Ivey, straight out of Ole Miss, arrived quietly, and he's making noise. Not that friendly preseason standout noise. I'm talking real noise. The kind of noise a player makes when he walks into a veteran-filled locker room and doesn't ask permission. He demands space. He goes head-to-head. And the craziest part, he has a real chance to steal a spot on the final roster. Yes, even with the insane competition for every spot in the front seven. The Bleacher Report's analysis was direct. Ivey fits perfectly with what Seattle is building on defense. A system that needs first-step explosiveness, quick reads against the run game, and, above all, the physical willingness to go head-to-head in the trenches. Ivy isn't a finished pass rusher, far from it. But as a base formation DE, he can become a starter on first and second downs without being a liability. And with proper coaching, grow into a third down presence too. He's the raw, moldable type of player with hidden upside. NFL.com's pre-draft scouting report nailed it. An explosive guy who could be a hit or miss. But what if he's a hit? The impact is immediate, especially on a roster where Hankins and Reed already have their defined roles, and Mike Morris was theoretically battling for the last spot. Now, who said Morris is guaranteed? With every Ivy rep, the pressure mounts, and Murphy too, that's the star project, is already feeling the heat. Even praised by Reed, who blurted out, "Nobody's going to be able to block that guy," the kid knows any slip-up costs him, and that's where things heat up. Because while the position battles are raging in practice behind the scenes, the atmosphere is different. It's tension. You know why? Because the coaching staff is going to have to make painful cuts. And if Ivy keeps up this pace, someone important is going to be left out. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's a name that fans are used to seeing as a fixed piece. The most symbolic part? Seeing how much Reed gushed over Ivy without even being asked. "He's strong as hell, fast, and nobody's gonna stop him," he declared. And when a veteran says that, it's not just praise, it's a sign of respect. Ivy is winning over the locker room, he's winning over the coaches, and if he maintains this pace in the preseason games, he's gonna force the Seahawks to change their plans. A new name, no pedigree, no draft capital, no media hype. But with everything to change the defensive rotation. But then comes the question nobody wants to ask out loud. If the offense is losing pieces and the defense is renewing itself with unknowns, where exactly is this team going? What we saw today aren't isolated facts. It's a clear picture of a Seahawks team at a boiling point, a rookie gaining ground prematurely, a playmaker going down without warning, a veteran gamble with a fragile body, and an unknown threatening old structures. Everything's out of place. And maybe that's exactly what this franchise needs. But be careful. Instability disguised as renewal has fooled a lot of people in Seattle before. Are we forging a new cycle or just repeating old patterns with different names? Comment below, Old Warrior. Do you smell a rebuild or just another season about to melt down?